Peace, and welcome to the Pink Chrysalis. My name is Adrienne, and this is part 2 of a video series on trust. So, as per usual, I'm drinking a cup of tea. So, this video should last roughly as long as this cup of tea. So, thank you so much for joining me, and let's get started. So, the last time we spoke about self-trust as a basis for life alignment, right? And a huge part of that is being able to trust your decisions. And trusting your decisions, I think, for me, became a lot easier when I was able to identify a purpose for my life. So, there's a lot of philosophical debate, and I'm not going to cover most of it. But, you could think that there is a purpose written into you by a higher being, a higher creator, God, the universe. You could also be of the belief system that there is no purpose that's given to you, but that you create your own. Wherever you fall on that spectrum, I think most of us feel that there's there's a great deal of usefulness and having a purpose. Gives us a sense of direction. And that sense of direction definitely helps how we feel on our journey. The other part of that is when you've identified or chosen a destiny or a purpose, then you can trust in that because you feel an attachment to it, right? You feel that it's something that you have identified, and then it makes sense for you. Once you've identified a purpose, it also allows you to be a little bit more lenient with the process, because the thing about life is not neat. It is not cut and dry. I can't remember who said it, and I'm sure I'll look it up. Maybe one of you guys can tell me who made this quote, and I'm really paraphrasing. But, planning is important, but plans are trash. Something like that. I'm sure it's like some historical figure. I'll find it, I promise. But the whole idea is, planning has its usefulness, right? But the plan itself is going to change because what's out in the world is going to change, right? So you may have an inner compass that is, focused true north, right? But there's mountains and rivers and all kinds of things in between you and this destination you have in mind. So keeping that in mind, keeping in mind that life is not neat. So you have to be able to trust the process. Also being able to trust even in failure, right? And what is failure? Failure, some people say, oh, failure is not an option. Oh, failure is absolutely one of the best options because failure can tell you which way not to go. Sometimes success will string you along in the wrong direction for a long ways. One of my favorite quotes is by Oprah Winfrey, which is, "There is no such thing as failure. Failure is just life trying to move us in another direction." That's pretty profound. So the idea that failure is actually a guide. And I would also tend to say that strong emotions can also be in that category, but that's for another video. Having a purpose also allows you to perhaps relax a little bit and also trust in your joy. Okay. One of my favorite authors, Brene Brown, I believe I have a book up here. Yeah, Daring Greatly. It's right here on my bookshelf. And Brene Brown actually introduces a concept called foreboding joy. All right. So just from the name, if you don't know what it means, I would definitely suggest that you get familiar with this term, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. It's where you're in the midst of a situation of happiness. It feels great. But somewhere in a corner of you, you've reserved yourself and you're not enjoying it in that corner of yourself. You're not fully immersed. Part of that is not being fully present in that moment and allowing the joy to be fully experienced and fully witnessed by yourself. Yeah, like you're looking forward to the end of it. Like, when is the other shoe going to drop? When is this going to stop? So, foreboding joy is definitely, it can be a killer of dreams. It can make you feel detached in your happy moments while you're on your journey. Yeah, so, think about that a little bit. It's kind of, it's a little bit sad to be in the midst of a joyous occasion or a joyous moment and not being able to be fully involved. And it's really interesting for me because I feel the same way in failure. If you're in a failure situation and you can't fully immerse yourself in the feeling, then you may not completely learn the lesson. You may get the pain, but not get the lesson. Another part of being able to trust in your purpose is not hurrying along. So you get to trust the journey. So you don't necessarily, tarry and wait. You don't have to wait for anything, but you also don't have to rush. You can take your time. The journey is here. And if you're fully embodying the present, then you're able to really allow yourself to go at the pace that works for you, right? This tea is good. It's like turmeric and ginger. Anyway, trust also isn't romanticizing pain or happiness, but instead it's like a deep acceptance of what is as opposed to what you think things should be, right? So that's just being present and allowing things to be what they are. And not just allowing, because things are what they are. No matter if you have some type of cognitive dissonance about it, it is exactly what it is. But when you have acceptance about it, you really experience reality and the present moment in a different kind of way. So, what is your purpose, right? So this is one of those questions I handle in my coaching practice. I lead people through exercises to find out what their purpose is. I also have some other ways that I do that, some ways that involve human design. So I'll kind of go over both of those. So first of all, there is this great free writing exercise that anyone can do. And if you want to, you can pause this video and actually do the exercise I'm about to lay out for you. I'll also put a link down below to the original place where I got this exercise so many years ago. I think I found this exercise so long ago. But when I first did it, oh boy, did it make me cry. It was amazing. So what you would do is just starting off with a blank sheet of paper. You're going to write a question at the top of the paper. And an interesting thing about our minds is our minds are, they're problem-solving devices. They love to answer questions. So if you ask yourself a question, your mind is leaping to try to answer it. Even if it doesn't have a rational answer for it, it will come up with something, which is really cool because that means you can exploit it to find out some information about yourself that you might not have at the top of mind. So you've got this blank piece of paper and the top. What is my true purpose in life? With the question mark. So ask the question. And then write an answer. And then write another answer. And keep writing, and just keep writing. Write words, write whole sentences, write answers. Just keep going and keep going and keep going. Then you're going to hit a wall and you're going to feel like stopping, and you're going to keep going until you hit a point where you've assembled and rearranged and you've got all the ideas. This is like an advanced brainstorming technique, or maybe not advanced. It's just a brainstorming technique. And you're going to keep putting out words and phrases and reassembling them and putting them together until you get to an answer that really makes you have an emotional response. And that's when you've probably found your purpose. I would say keep going. Just keep going until you almost feel exhausted. For me, this exercise took, they say it's supposed to take about 20 minutes. It took me about 30 minutes because I just kept going. But by the time I was finished, I was super emotional about it. And I really felt like I had hit something that was really important. What I'll say though, later years, when I discovered human design, and I've done some studying and some contemplation of my chart, and particularly there's a part of the chart called the incarnation cross. After I did some contemplation there, it was really, really strange how there was this deep alignment between what I had gotten out of that exercise and what I was able to glean from human design. By using both of them simultaneously, I was able to come up with a purpose that is so clear. I mean, it's part of the reason I'm even here doing this video right now. So even though I found my purpose through that writing exercise, through some other techniques, including human design as an identifier, and then some other techniques that I use to execute, I'm like living my purpose, which is a completely different space to be in, and a place that I always felt like there was a chasm between me and this purpose I had come up with, and then actually living it. So again, I will say that all of that started to come into focus as I became more aligned with myself. So one of the things about the incarnation cross is it's really a framework for your purpose. So it doesn't just come out right and say, you're going to do this. It's much more of a framework of, this is how you will, how you can impact the world, and this is what you'll be taking in. And it kind of just gives you a framework in which to build the specifics. So let's just say inside you have an archetype of purpose, but out in the world you have a purpose where you've put the meat on the bones, and now it walks and it talks and it has action out in the world. So these are kind of, they are related, but they're not the same, because they meet when you're aligned and they meet as your consciousness. Like I said, these two methods working in tandem are probably the most effective thing that I've ever seen for identifying a purpose and being able to get aligned to it in a very, very fast manner. And in case you're curious, so I should share, my purpose is to recognize others deeply and guide them to their highest potentials, right? So I think I might have mentioned this in the in the first video, like, oh, become a life coach. Well, that was really interesting because I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready then. Over the years, I became more and more ready, and I've had coaching clients on and off throughout the years. But now is a different time. Now is a different time where my purpose has squeezed out every other part of every other thing I was doing in my life, and now there's just this. So kind of to close out a little bit, I've got some quotes by Eckhart Tolle. I like him. I love him. He's amazing. If you haven't read him or heard any of his videos, I would definitely recommend you to listen to him. What I will say, though, is I used to listen to him and read him all the time. And it wasn't until I got into a certain level of consciousness that even what he was saying really sank in and it always made sense. But it was not until I reached a certain level that I was able to apply any of it, which is kind of like, it's like a teaser. It's like, oh my gosh, I know I could be doing these things, or I know I could be feeling this way, or I know I could have this level of consciousness. But it was just out of reach. Anyway, So one of the great quotes is, life will give you whatever experience is most helpful for the evolution of your consciousness. So understanding that whatever level of consciousness you're at, whatever is going on in your life, if it is, it's supposed to be. All right. And then here's another quote that I really love by him, which is, we have both an inner and outer purpose, according to Eckhart. Okay. Our outer purpose changes with circumstances and necessarily involves time, whereas our inner purpose remains always the same. It is to be absolutely present in whatever we do, and so let our actions be guided and empowered by awareness, the awakened consciousness, rather than controlled by the egoic mind. We fulfill our destiny and realize our purpose when we awaken to who we are, conscious presence. Thank you so much for joining me, and look out for the third video in this series on trust, and I look forward to sitting with you again. Peace.